My earliest tutorial about installing Geom4 on Windows are 2 years old now. Geom4 is evolving fast. It's time to make a new one. As mentioned in a recent video, the pre-compiled Geom4 11 provides a very nice GUI for Windows by default. There's no strong reason for us to compile Geom4 by ourselves anymore. We can simply install the pre-compiled Geom4 libraries, which is easy and fast. Let's go to the Geom4 homepage and download the latest version of it. Remember to download the executable installer, not the source code, because we want to install Geom4 libraries that are already compiled on Windows. Double-click the downloaded installer. Click More Info and run anyway to start the installer. Click Next to continue. Agree to the license. Add Geom4 to the system path for current user. This step is crucial. Don't forget it. I'll explain why later in this video. The default installation location is in the system folder. I normally change it to my personal directory to avoid switching to an administrator's account. Click Next to add a Geom4 entry in your Start menu, which simply provides a link to the Geom4 uninstaller. Make a full installation. You need everything. Notice that Geom4 examples are not included here. I personally like this change. If you need any example code, download them separately. The installation process is very fast as it simply extracts compiled libraries to the destination folder. Click Finish to close the installer. Open the destination folder. You will see 4 directories plus an uninstaller. There is no exe file for you to double-click and run Geom4 because the only thing installed here are just a bunch of library files. You need to write your own Geom4 program to use these libraries. If you don't know how to write your own Geom4 program, you can use mine as a start. You can download it from its homepage or to download it from its GitHub project page in the drop-down menu under the Code button. It contains only a single C++ file, great for learning Geom4 programming for a beginner. On the other hand, it is versatile enough to handle most user cases. It is shipped with step-by-step instructions for a newcomer to follow through. Gears also contains a Windows batch file to install Geom4 datasets automatically for you. Assume you already download and unzipped Gears into your local disk. Go to Gears Install Geom4 Data directory and double-click the set file to install Geom4 datasets in that folder. You can also drag and drop that file into any other directory where you want to install your Geom4 datasets and double-click it there. Please avoid using a system directory, otherwise you will have to run it as an administrator. Without this batch file, you will have to manually download and unzip 12 datasets from the Geom4 download page and set their corresponding environment variables by yourself. Believe me, you don't want to do that by hand. When you double-click the batch file, a terminal will pop up showing you the progress of downloading and setting environment variables. The downloaded GZ file will show up in your file browser. When their contents are extracted to a folder, the original GZ file will be deleted to save disk space. It takes a long time to download all 12 datasets. Come back to your computer after a cup of tea. If you see, press any key to continue. You know that the process is finished successfully. Press any key to close the terminal. If something went wrong, you can double-click the set batch file again to try to download the missing files. If you are curious to know where the environmental variables are saved, open the Edit the System Environmental Variables window. Click Environmental Variables. In the User Variables list, you can double-check whether those variables are set correctly. Scroll down. You should be able to see the Geant4 bin directory is in the path list. Otherwise, you need to manually add that folder in the path. To compile Gears with Geant4 libraries, you need to have a C++ compiler. The most popular C++ compiler on Windows is the community version of Visual Studio with C++ support. I have a tutorial to walk you through the process step by step. Another piece of software that is needed for the compilation of a Geant4 based application is CMake. You can follow this instruction if you need any help in its installation. In another tutorial, I summarized 4 ways to compile a Geant4 application. All of them requires the existence of CMake and the Visual Studio C++ workload. We will demonstrate the easiest one in this video. Let's launch the CMake GUI from the Start menu. Drag and drop a file named CMake list in the Gears folder into the CMake GUI. The source code location will be automatically filled. CMake and the Visual Studio will create a lot of files during the build process. It is a good idea to create a build directory to contain those automatically generated files. If the build folder is not created in the specified folder, when you click the Configure button, CMake will ask your permission to create one. Say yes. CMake will then ask you to specify the generator for this project. If you already installed the Visual Studio, CMake will automatically find it. Press Finish to accept the default setup. Upon a successful configuration, CMake will report the location of Geant4 directory. The red entry is not an error. It simply means that this entry has been recently updated. Press Configure again until there's no red entries anymore. If you encounter an error saying that Geant4 cannot be found, most probably you have forgotten to add Geant4 to the system path for current user. CMake relies on the path environment variable to find Geant4. You need to go back to this step to fix this problem. If Geant4 is successfully found by CMake, press Generate. When you see the information generating done, press Open Project. CMake will launch Visual Studio for you automatically. Right-click on the Gears solution, select Build to start the build process. If everything goes fine, an executable called gears.exe will be compiled out of the source file gears.cc. Remember its location. Open that folder in your file browser to double check if the executable is really there. Double click on it to run it. A terminal and a Geant4 GUI will pop up one after another, where you can verify your Geant4 version and type in Geant4 macro commands to start your simulation. In order to use Gears in other locations, we need to add the folder where gears.exe is located into the path environmental variable. Again, open the Edit the System Environmental Variable control panel and click Environmental Variables. double-click the path entry, then add into this list the folder where gears.exe is located. Click OK to close all setting windows. Now we can try to go to another folder. For example, the tutorials output subdirectory in Gears folder, where you can find a example Geant4 macro file radiate.mac. Highlight your address bar here. Replace it with gears.exe and hit return. To launch the Geant4 GUI, press the Open button in the GUI window to launch the radiate.mac file in the tutorials output folder. Gears will run the simulation defined in this folder in the GUI. Congratulations! Now you can run Geant4 in any directory on your Windows machine. To learn more about how to use Geant4 through the Gears application, please read the documentation in its tutorials subdirectory in the order specified in this page.